Hey, it's Becca and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. So I never thought I would be this strongly haunted by my middle school phases, but my brain tends to be a rather persistent thing. If it sees something that I used to be into, I tend to somehow fall back into it. And that just so happens to be the case with Miraculous Ladybug recently. I never watched season 4 when it came out. I was already getting kind of frustrated with the show by the time season 3 finished, so I was like, you know what, I'm not feeling season 4, so I just never watched it, and I didn't really feel much regret. I wasn't feeling it at the time, and I was ready to kind of put that behind me. Things were taking too long, and I wasn't enjoying it. But I came up with the idea to try and rewrite the show, which that video is coming. Don't worry, the script's done. I just need to film it. And it got me thinking, you should just get it over with. You should just watch season 4. And I'm like, all right, fine. I will watch season 4. So I did. And I was right. It was pretty bad. I did not really enjoy it, but it did get me thinking about the show and the characters again. So I'm like, all right. I hate that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to get back into it. So I started getting back into the show again, and then season 5 started coming out, and I'm like, maybe this will be the one. Maybe this time this will be the one. And so I started watching season 5, and I was actually pleasantly surprised at what I was watching, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting to actually enjoy the show again, which was kind of a nice feeling, but it was a weird feeling at the same time. I just didn't really know what to think. But here we are. So today I thought it'd be fun to do like one of those like little recap videos and kind of go over that as well as my thoughts. It's going to be very long. The script probably could have been shorter, but I didn't want to make it shorter. So this is what we're doing. But yeah, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through the first 9 episodes of season 5. And then in another video, I'll go through the second 9 episodes, and then in a third part, we'll do the last 9. There's supposed to be 27 episodes, so this should work out perfectly. And I'm really excited for this, and I hope you guys are too. So that being said, let's get into the video. All right, so before we actually start, I figured it's probably a good idea to remind you all where we left off at the end of season 4. So, where we left off in season 4, all of the heroes had been hit by this, villain that made them take more risks than usual. So, Ladybug, in her riskier nature, decided to give Adrian a miraculous. However, earlier in the episode, Adrian was set to go on this long modeling trip across Europe, but Felix shows up and says that he will take Adrian's place because Adrian doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to leave his friends. So, instead of giving Adrian the dog miraculous, she ends up giving it to Felix. And now, Felix apparently knows who Hawkmoth is and manages to make a deal with Hawkmoth where he gets all of the miraculous for Hawkmoth in exchange for the peacock miraculous. And Felix does this by touching the dog miraculous to Ladybug's yo-yo where she had begun to store all of the different miraculous for easy access whenever they might need one, because she's just giving them out to everybody now. So yeah, Ladybug lost almost all of the miraculous, which is a great thing to happen. And I'll admit, this is what kept me going and wanting to watch season 5, because I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is actually something new and exciting. So yeah, that was the one good thing about season 4. So episode 1, Evolution. So we open on the people of Paris cheering for Ladybug and Cat Noir. And as devastating as it might be for Ladybug to have lost all of the miraculous, I'm just happy that now it's going to go back to her and Cat Noir. I was so sick of them just giving out all the miraculous to all of their friends and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm ready for the show to go back to what made it good in the first place, which is the 2 of them. So I was ready. Now, we get to see Gabriel wearing all of the different miraculous, and I would like to point out that he looks incredibly dumb wearing all of them. It's just not great. And it's like, I know he doesn't leave the house very often, but is he planning on wearing them outside of the house? Because this looks bad, and it just does not look good at all. So Gabriel is talking to Emily's corpse, body in a coma, I don't really know. And he's just going over his new plan now that he's got all the miraculous. All of the Kwamis are now trying to tell him that if he wants to bring Emily back, he is going to end up taking somebody else's life, like, in exchange. And he's just like, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And we knew Gabriel was, like, a terrible person, right? Like, we all knew that. But the fact that he willingly acknowledges that he is going to kill somebody to, like, go through this plan just makes him even worse, because while he does cause a lot of destruction, we know at the end of the day, Ladybug is able to, like, fix everything. So he hasn't really done any lasting physical damage to anybody, other than, like, maybe the heroes. But now he's willingly acknowledging that he's gonna kill somebody? Like, he's a terrible person, even more so than before. So there we go. Now, Gabriel has to monologue, because that's what all dumb villains do. So he decides to call Natalie and explain his plan to her as well. He is going to take the Bunny Miraculous and go back in time and try and defeat the heroes before they had gotten, like, super powerful, which, you know, good plan. Good plan. I don't like time travel, but this is a good plan. Natalie tries to reason with him, saying that this probably isn't going to work out the way you think it will, but Gabriel's like, nope, and hangs up the phone. Now we get to see his new villain design, and I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. He's going by Monarch now, which I think is a better name, but I think his design looks kind of dumb as well. And I think the thing that is throwing me off is I can see his ears. I don't like being able to see his ears. It's wrong. So back with Ladybug and Cat Noir, they have just given a rousing speech to the people of Paris below when a portal opens up behind them and Monarch falls through, followed quickly by another Ladybug and Cat Noir before they all vanish into another portal as well. Then Bunnix from the future appears and tells them, hey, the situation's not good. We need to fix this. So they all follow Bunnix into the burrow. Monarch has decided to go back in time to Lady Wi-Fi to try and defeat the heroes there. You know, back to a much simpler time where the show seemed like they knew what they were doing. Once they make it to the burrow, the heroes are able to grab Monarch before he can do anything, trapping him momentarily. Then Ladybug has to monologue. There's a lot of monologuing in this season, apparently, which is super unfortunate, but here we go. She has to monologue, and this buys Monarch time to use some of the miraculous that he now has to his advantage. He is able to get out of the restraints and use venom on Bunnix, freezing her in place before getting away. As a result, Cat Noir ends up taking the Bunny Miraculous from Alex and unifies that with his own. And this is probably one of my favorite unification designs. I think the blue and the black work really well together. The heroes then follow Monarch through a couple different, like, time periods that they've, like, been in, such as, like, the fight against Riposte and the one against Miracle Queen, where they had to escape to the sewers to, like, detransform and, like, recharge. So Monarch is definitely using a lot of different miraculous, and we can see that this is having, like, a draining effect on him. Like, it's taking a lot of energy out of him to use all of these different miraculous. And, you know, it's pretty satisfying to see one of his few appearances go, like, so poorly for him so far. He shows up and he is immediately just exhausted because he's too dumb to know how using all of these different miraculouses work. Eventually, we do see the scene from earlier where Monarch falls through the portal, like, behind Ladybug and Cat Noir, only this time it's from the other Ladybug and Cat Noir's perspective. Eventually, though, Monarch does have to stop because he's an idiot and has used too many miraculous, and he is able to use the dog miraculous on the bunny, so he'll always be able to, like, call it back to him before he promptly passes out from exhaustion. So the heroes take the bunny miraculous from Monarch, but are quickly distracted by Master Fu being like spotted by the police from across the river. Like, we've gone that far back in time. While they're distracted, Monarch wakes back up and is able to call the bunny miraculous back to him and gets out of there before anything can happen. Ladybug, as always, is like come over in like a fit of despair, like, oh, we can't do this. Wow, we can't win. This is all over. It's all my fault. Blah, blah, blah. And Cat Noir has to come in, like always, and reassure her that, nah, it's fine. We can win. We can do this. We got this. So back with Monarch, he's continuing to be an idiot and refusing to listen to the Kwamis, who are telling him, hey, buddy, you can't be doing this. Like, this isn't gonna work. You're gonna basically, like, die if you keep trying to use this many miraculous. Like, it's not good for you. And he's just not listening. I mean, they're telling him exactly what he needs to do, and he's just like, nope, can't hear you. No. He ends up going to Natalie on the train directly after their conversation from earlier and is like, hey, I need your help. The heroes then end up cornering a young Master Fu, being like, hey, we also need your help, and they're able to get the dog miraculous from him before saying that they'll give it back in like less than a minute. Because, you know, time travel. Ladybug and Cat Noir end up going to a like present time Alex and giving her the dog miraculous. She's pretty confused, being like, hey, I thought I was supposed to get the bunny. And they're like, yeah, but there's a problem and we need you to use this one. So here you go. Ladybug also tells Alex that once they get the bunny miraculous back from Monarch, they are going to need her to just kind of go throughout time and just kind of hide the bunny miraculous away from Monarch so he can't get it. Oh, and I don't like Alex's design with the dog miraculous. I don't think it looks very good. The heroes end up going back to right after Monarch had passed out, and Alex is able to touch the dog miraculous to the bunny and get out of there before Monarch had even realized that anything happened. They then make a plan to go back to Heroes Day and use this moment to try and defeat Monarch. Speaking of Monarch, he is back with Natalie, and she gives him the idea to go back in time before Emily got sick and give his younger self a flash drive with the information on how to fix the Peacock Miraculous, so Emily would never get sick in the first place. This is why I love Natalie. This is such a smart plan. It is an effective use of time travel, and it probably would have worked. I think it would have worked, and yeah, so good for Natalie. She came up with a fantastic plan here. So Monarch agrees to follow through with it and then leaves. We then see a young Gabriel give the Peacock Miraculous to Emily, and the older Gabriel is watching this and is about to drop the flash drive in the past when he spots something out of the corner of his eye. It is a red and black spotted box that Ladybug had left behind. He acknowledges that this is probably a trap, so rather than just doing the smart and logical thing and just leaving the flash drive in the past and then going after Ladybug and Cat Noir, he decides, no, I'm just gonna go after Ladybug and Cat Noir. I'm not gonna be the smart person here. And we all knew he was like pretty dumb, right? Like, we all knew that, but like, this is a new low, buddy. Like, come on. Like, I get it, there wouldn't be a show if he did this, but like, come on, don't give this to us and then just kind of like rip this away like it wasn't the best plan that anyone has come up with ever for the show. Like, come on. He is so dumb. It was right there, and he wasted a golden opportunity, which is going to be kind of like a theme this season, is wasting golden opportunities, but like, we'll get into that later. But this is so frustrating. Like, I just want a competent villain. Is that too much to ask? I think that's too much to ask of the show, because they can't seem to follow through with that. But my goodness, this is bad. This is really bad. Oh my gosh, I hate this. So, stupidly, Monarch goes back to Heroes Day to try and defeat the heroes. However, Alex is waiting for him and is able to use Fetch to get the Bunny Miraculous back, quickly unifying it with the dog and burrowing out of there as fast as possible. And Monarch can't do anything about it. He's done for. So the heroes then leave as well, leaving him behind at Heroes Day. Back in the burrow, Ladybug is able to unfreeze the older Alex, and from there, she is able to take the dog miraculous back to Master Fu and bring Monarch back to the present. Ladybug tells the younger Alex, all right, it's time. Go have fun on your little vacation through time, and she leaves as well. Now, the heroes have Monarch, wrapped up, and Ladybug tries to monologue again. I don't know why she couldn't have just gone for the miraculous, that's what you want, just take them back now. But she doesn't, and so he is able to get away once again. And also, once again, Ladybug has another moment where she's like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe I did this. This is horrible. It's all over. We're never gonna win. And Cat Noir once again has to come in and be like, hey, we always fix things. We got this. We're gonna fix this. Because he's just the best. Back in his little underground lair, Gabriel, being the pathetic man that he is on his knees begging Emily for forgiveness. And I'm like, buddy, you could have fixed this. This is your fault. This is on you. You and only you are to blame for not being able to save your wife here. That's not on Ladybug. That's not on Cat Noir. That's not on your plans being foiled. You foiled your own plans. That's on you. So then Natalie decides to call him and be like, hey, did it work? Did you do what you needed to do? And he's like, no, Ladybug tricked me. And then Natalie goes off. She tells him that it's all his fault and he chose not to save Emily and he chose not to save her as well, because fixing that would also mean that Natalie never got sick. And she calls him an idiot and insane, and it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. He is now begging Natalie to come up with a new plan, and she's like, no, you don't deserve my help. You don't deserve anyone's help. And I love her for this. So good. So needed. Gabriel needed to be humbled for a minute. So if I were to sum up my thoughts on this episode, I'd say it's a pretty strong start to the season. It does a good job of showing what Monarch can do now that he's got all of the miraculous, and how formidable he can be if he just listened to the Kwamis. But that's okay. So I think it's a very strong start. I'm very happy that they didn't have Ladybug and Cat Noir just get all of the miraculous back in the first episode, because I was really worried that that's the route they were gonna go. That's how low my faith is for this show, that they would waste an opportunity like this. And yeah, so I was really worried that was gonna happen, but I'm glad that it hasn't. But I'm glad they also were able to get the Bunny Miraculous back and kind of just send Alex away. It's not that I want Alex to be gone. I want the Bunny Miraculous to be gone, because I don't like time travel shenanigans. I've never liked them. I think they've always been used as easy fixes for things, especially in this show. Time travel is just such a weird concept, and I don't like time travel in this show. So I'm glad that that is gone, and we don't have to really think about that for hopefully a while. Also, once again, if Monarch taking all of the miraculous means that Marinette and Adrian's class doesn't all have miraculouses right now, I am all for it. I hate that that's a thing, so I am glad that that's gone. All right, episode 2, multiplication. So we open on Ladybug and Cat Noir watching a newscast about the whole Monarch situation. Ladybug tells Cat Noir that she was under the impression that she gave the dog miraculous to Adrian Agreste, but she's now figured out that it was really Felix this whole time. Before they can go in, hunt Felix down, Suhan shows up, the other guardian dude, and just starts telling Ladybug off, saying that she failed and that he can't believe that she's done this, blah, 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 blah. The heroes are then like, whoa, hold on, buddy. We have a plan. Calm down. We got this. And then Suhan just drops to his knees and is begging them for forgiveness. And, for someone called the Grandmaster, Suhan's kind of pathetic. He says that he's going to go back to the temple, wherever that is, and try and get some backup for them before he just leaves. And I don't think we're going to be seeing him for a while. He only seems to like appear randomly, and I'm guessing these are the few random times that the writers remember that he exists. After this, Ladybug and Cat Noir decide to fly off to London and see if Felix is there and try and talk to him. Once they get there, though, his mother tells them that he's not there and he hasn't been there for a while, and they end up leaving kind of defeated. As they're leaving, Cat Noir confesses to Ladybug that he's not really sure if Felix is actually working with Monarch and is wondering if maybe he's like a victim instead. So after this, our two heroes are kind of having a rough time. Marinette gets back to her room and it is just so quiet without all the other Kwamis there. It's getting to be a little bit too much for her, so she decides to call Alia and be like, hey, can you come and sleep over? I need you right now. Adrien is having flashbacks to his conversation with Felix from the end of season 4, where Felix is like, I'll go on your trip for you, and he's just kind of reminiscing on the thing that started this whole mess. After this, he also has a flashback to a conversation that he had with Marinette towards the end of season 4, where she asked him, why don't you just tell your dad that you don't want to go on this trip and you don't want to model? And he'd kind of brushed it off, saying that he wasn't going to, but this is the moment he's like, no, I'm going to tell my dad I don't want to model. So he decides to go and talk to his father, and to the surprise of everyone, Gabriel agrees to this. He's like, sure, you don't have to model, and just kind of like dismisses him, which something fishy is happening here. I don't trust this man for 1 second. But at least Adrien doesn't have to model. So Alia has made it to Marinette's house, and Marinette is like freaking out about everything that had just happened. She ends up telling Alia that she feels as though her crush on Adrien has been distracting her, and that's what caused her to get into this whole mess in the first place. So she's not going to be in love with Adrien anymore. Simple as that. I do want to remind everybody that Marinette was under the control almost, or under the influence of an akumatized villain when she gave Felix the dog Miraculous. So I don't think her actions can be fully blamed on herself, and I think partially the responsibility lies on the fact that she was under an akumatized villain's influence. I do think that's important to acknowledge. Alia then correctly points out that Marinette's tried to not be in love with Adrien before, and it hasn't really worked out. However, Marinette is determined that it's going to work out this time because the safety of Paris is at stake this time. So the stakes are a little heightened with this one. The universe loves to screw with Marinette, however, and in this moment, Adrien calls her. She's freaking out as per usual, so Alia takes the phone and decides to answer it. Adrien then tells Alia that he talked to his dad and he doesn't have to model anymore. And this freaks Marinette out again, and she grabs the phone from Alia, telling Adrien how proud of him she is for finally having a heart-to-heart with his dad. Adrien then tells Marinette that ever since he started school, she's always been there for him, always giving him advice and being just like a good person. He then says that his life would be a lot different if she wasn't in it, and he thanks her for it. He then tells her that one day he hopes that he can be there for her in the same way that she's there for him, and he also tells her how important she is to him. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. So they hang up, and Alia is freaking out, as a good best friend should, but Marinette's like, no, we're just school buddies. It doesn't mean anything. And she is pulling the biggest Uno reverse card on Adrien, Mr. Just a Friend, that she possibly could. On Adrien's end, he's all like mushy and like happy and stuff, and just has to say how special Marinette is. Plag has to be the realist and be like, hey, you can't keep calling her just a friend if you're gonna keep saying this stuff about her. And Adrien doesn't argue. So some days go by and there is no sign of Monarch, but we do see Gabriel having several meetings with Kagami's mother. Outside of the school, the group is waiting for Adrien to show up, and once he gets there, he gives a fist bump to both Alia and Nino, but goes in for a kiss on the cheek for Marinette. Like, I know they're French, but, like, why didn't he do it for his other friends? And then he does it again. And he tries to do it a third time as well. Like, damn aggressed you are, being very forward there. At the same time this is going on, we also see Adrian and Lila getting, like, digitally scanned while both Gabriel and Kagami's mom are there. And I'm getting very, very weird vibes from this. I don't feel good about this, and I'm very worried about what this might lead to. I don't trust Gabriel in the slightest. As for Ladybug and Cat Noir, they are still doing patrols, trying to find and see if Monarch is doing anything, but the patrols aren't yielding anything, so they've resorted to just sitting on top of the Eiffel Tower and, like, playing cards, which honestly sounds fun. I would love to do that. There has been absolutely no sign of Monarch, and also no word from Felix either. So the next day at school, the group doesn't even make it inside before Akari Gozen shows up to, wreck everything. The fight's not going great, but then Akari Gozen summons the power of the mouse miraculous. Ooh. So this confuses the heroes greatly, but they're able to eventually stop her, saving the day. Oh, I should probably mention, Akumas are not called Akumas anymore. They are Mega Kumas. And I don't remember if this is a season 4 thing or a season 5 thing, but I'm not calling them that. They are Akumas, and that is the best you're gonna get out of me. So after the fight is over, they end up asking Kagami's mom if she has a miraculous on her, describing the mouse miraculous, and she's like, I have no such thing. Ladybug then gives her one of the little charms that are so dumb because they don't work, and that is that. In the car, Kagami's mom calls Gabriel on this, like, little ring thing, saying that the prototype worked perfectly. After this, we see a super high-tech fancy ad for this new ring called Alliance, which is being funded by Gabriel and Kagami's mom's companies. The ad features both Adrian and Lila in it because they are the faces for the new AI within the ring. This is the ring that Kagami's mom was just using to call Gabriel. And this is when it's revealed that this is why Gabriel had digitized Adrian so he could be made into an AI, which is just weird. It's so weird. But Gabriel then reminds him, this is why you don't have to model anymore. The end of the episode shows that Felix is back with his mom, and she tells him that she'll keep him safe from the heroes that think he's a villain. We then see him use the Peacock Miraculous for what looks like the first time, and the episode ends. I'm not really sure what to think of this episode. It feels like a lot of setup mostly, which is important, but there's nothing super substantial until, like, the very end. But here's what I know for sure. It is very, very weird that Gabriel now has access to a digital version of his son, which he can use to do whatever he wants. So from now on, any picture, any video of Adrian that's used in any sort of, like, commercialized sense is not actually Adrian, and that is so creepy to me. I don't like that. I think that's so weird and strange, and I'm very concerned that now this is how the public is gonna be viewing Adrian, and I don't think Gabriel's gonna use it for inappropriate purposes. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it still is very odd to me and feels very weird that this is how it's gonna be from now on. I hate this, and I don't like that this is how it is now. I think that there's potential for this to go really badly, and I'm very scared for how this is gonna go. Like, Adrian's a child, and he's gonna have how many photos out there that everyone's gonna believe is actually him when it's really not. It's like this weird deep fake kind of situation. Like, it's so weird. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Ugh. In terms of the rest of the episode, this is the first time where we've started to see that maybe Adrian's feelings towards Marinette are changing. And it kind of feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Like, we literally haven't really seen this that much up until, like, this moment. So I'm just kind of confused on where this is coming from. And I think it would have been better if this was a little bit more built up to. But I don't know. As for Marinette, I completely understand where she's coming from with not wanting to be in love with Adrian and thinking that just relationships are not a good idea for her right now because they're distracting and too much has gone wrong and she just needs to focus on being like Ladybug and like getting through that. Like, I get that. I understand. However, we've been through this before. It hasn't worked then, so I can't imagine that it's going to last very long this time. I will say though, this does appear to be working towards doing the reverse love square. At least one end of it so far. And I've always been a huge proponent of that. I think it's really essential. I'll get more into that later. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this because I think it could be very interesting. Episode 3, Destruction. So we are back at the same sleepover from the previous episode that Marinette and Alia were having, and Marinette's doom scrolling. She can't stop watching videos from the ladybug about the whole Monarch situation. Eventually Alia has to be like, girl, you have to stop. You can't keep doing this. This is not good for you. Back with Gabriel, he is once again being very bad at making plans and is trying to get the rooster, or Rico, I had to look up his name, to give him like some sort of power, because that's the rooster's power, is to grant new powers. And he keeps trying to come up with things and it's not working, and it's just over and over. Rico's like, buddy, I can't keep doing that. I can't do this for you. This is not how this works. Which the scene goes on for far too long, but we do get to learn a few valuable things about how the rooster miraculous works. Firstly, he cannot grant someone a power that another Kwame has. So Gabriel's like, give me time travel, and Rico's like, no, I can't. Secondly, he cannot grant wishes. That's not his power. That's the power of the combined Ladybug and Black Cat. He can only give people powers, not wishes. And third, he cannot give someone a power that is going to disrupt another Kwame's magic, which I think is good. I just want to know how he figures that out. Like, how do you determine if a power is going to disrupt another Kwame's magic? Like, that's what I want to know. So Gabriel switches tactics and demands the Kwames tell him the identity of Ladybug. And they're like, we can't. Ladybug never renounced us, so she is still technically our holder and we cannot reveal her identity. Then Gabriel's like, okay, tell me where she lives. And unfortunately, there is nothing saying that they can't do that. So they end up telling Gabriel that he just has to follow the smell of croissants. Where is this going? Let me just say, it took him so long to get to this point, and I thought he had a good understanding of how the miraculous worked because he had the grimoire. So I would have thought he would have known how this whole thing worked, but apparently he doesn't know, and he's just an idiot. So once again, non-competent villain syndrome strikes again. So Tom, of course, has to be making croissants at the moment that Monarch is like, all right, I need to follow the smell of croissants. He couldn't have been making anything else. It has to be croissants right now. So Monarch ends up landing right in Marinette's room, and the Kwames tell him, hey, you need to ask for the gift. And Monarch's very confused, but Marinette hands him this like keychain with a little ladybug charm on it, and he breaks it and finds the number 42 on it. At this moment, Alia comes back upstairs. She was getting food, and once she sees Monarch, she immediately takes out her phone and starts recording him, which, very smart. We love a smart and resourceful reporter. Monarch then just decides to smash Alia's phone before realizing that the keychain leads to a locker at the ice rink and leaves for there. At the ice rink, Monarch finds Philippe, and Philippe shows him the locker that the key leads to. Inside, he finds a piece of paper with a piece of what seems to be an address, as well as a picture of the Ladybug and Cat Noir statues from the Wax Museum. Philippe then takes a picture of Monarch and posts it on his social media, something that we see that he's done with a whole bunch of other celebrities that have shown up at the ice rink. Monarch then makes it to the Wax Museum and finds a piece of paper in the bell of the Cat Noir statue that says the word half-wit on it, which is pretty funny. However, this is not a statue of Cat Noir. This is the Cat Noir. And he manages to jump out, and Ladybug jumps out as well, wrapping Monarch in her like lucky charm. It's like this weird kind of rope thing, and Cat Noir is like on top of him, holding his cataclysm out, ready to pounce on him if Monarch tries to make any sudden movements. They've got him down. They have him, and they could so easily just take all of the miraculous back, but no. What does Ladybug do? She monologues. She had a golden opportunity here, and she monologues. I can't believe that this is happening again. I cannot believe it. This is so frustrating. I hate monologuing so much. Monologue after you've gone through with your plan. Because if you got through with your plan, there's nowhere for whoever you're trying to stop to go. Monologue after and be like, haha, this is why I just did what I did, you know? Don't monologue before, monologue after. It's so much more effective. Seriously. But no, she has to monologue, and Monarch uses this to his advantage. He intentionally cataclysms himself to get Cat Noir off of him before he is able to teleport away, taking the lucky charm with him. Both the heroes are obviously very distraught at this because Ladybug just screwed up another chance, and Cat Noir just cataclysmed somebody. He's like freaking out because he'd never actually cataclysmed like a real person, but at the same time it's Monarch, so like does it really matter? But he's like, fix it, please, fix it. Can you do your little miraculous Ladybug thing? Like, please fix this. And Ladybug's like, he took it. He took the lucky charm. I can't fix this. And so they're just kind of left to feel very like defeated. Like they had a golden opportunity and it was ruined by monologuing. Oh my gosh, I hate this. So back in her room, Marinette finally explains the whole situation to Alia and the audience as well. She came up with the idea of doing a sort of like scavenger hunt for Monarch to follow if he ever got a hold of one of the Kwamis and forced it to reveal her location. She's like, they have to tell the truth, but there's nothing that says they can't add to the truth. So she taught them exactly what they need to say, and she wanted to make sure that she knew exactly when Monarch was trying to look for her, which is why she made her own house the first stop on the scavenger hunt. So she would be aware of exactly what Monarch was doing and where he was at what time. From there, she'd have enough time to be able to contact Cat Noir so they could get in place for their final part of the plan. She also made sure to tell Philippe about the whole, like, posting pictures thing. She didn't tell him her plan, but encouraged him to post pictures every time someone famous showed up at the ice rink, so that way she could also kind of keep tabs on where Monarch was in, like, which phase of the scavenger hunt. That way she'd be ready and they'd know exactly how much time they had before things went bad. And then she had given Cat Noir the little piece of paper for his bell like a month ago, and Alia is just laughing at the fact that Cat Noir has had a paper that says half-wit inside of his bell for like a whole month, which is kind of funny. We then go back and see the same conversation from the last episode where Adrien tells Gabriel that he doesn't want to be a model anymore. However, this time it's more from Gabriel's perspective, and we can see that his arm is like shaking, like from pain. Adrien doesn't notice this, but we can tell. After Adrien leaves, we see Gabriel kind of roll up his like sleeve of his shirt, and there is this giant black handprint on his arm from where he cataclysmed himself. We then follow him up to his little like lair place, and we see there's a whole bunch of weird machines up there. It's very strange. and he takes each of the miraculous and just basically turns them to dust before forming them into these rings. Don't worry, the Kwamis are fine. They're now just trapped in these like little bubble things. So Gabriel puts on all of the rings, and he's got like a million rings on all of his hands, and he looks bad. Like, I'm a girl that loves rings, but like, trust me when I say it does not look good at all. How do I feel about this episode? Why did this happen? I am so frustrated by this episode. Like, I think there's a lot of interesting ideas at play here, but I don't love the execution of them. I'm going to get so sick of it. I'm already sick of it, of Ladybug and Cat Noir constantly coming close to like succeeding in stopping Monarch, but then being stopped by their own fault. Like, it's getting very frustrating very quickly. So if this doesn't change, I'm gonna have some problems. A lot of problems. Monologuing is like one of my least favorite tropes in media. I think it can exist without being a detriment to whoever is monologuing, but it always seems to be at the fault of whoever is actually monologuing. It never seems to actually do any good, and I feel like they could just monologue after they're done with their plan. Like, if you're that desperate to monologue, just do it after. It's not that difficult. It is interesting to see Monarch finally making some headway in his plans, but he's still an idiot, and we are constantly being reminded of that. Like, I just prefer when a villain in a show is actually competent, and I feel like that makes the threat of the villain just way more threatening. I don't know, I feel like it's actually like a good villain if they're actually competent and they use the resources that they have seemingly poured over to their advantage. I don't know. I guess I just don't have much else to say about this episode. I feel like it only really exists to frustrate me. Hey, I'm just gonna jump in here and explain something that I realized while I'm editing this video. So I'm hearing myself say these names of these episodes, and I don't know why it took me this long to figure it out, but each of these episodes are named after different miraculous powers, like the power of the different miraculous, right? And I think that's so interesting because all we've ever gotten is episodes named after villains. So it's nice to see a change, and I think this is really interesting. And every episode that's named after miraculous power features that miraculous as like the main one of that episode. So like episode 1's called Evolution, and that was Fluff's power. So then we got the bunny miraculous, and then we got Molo with multiplication for the second episode. We had Cat Noir cataclysming someone in the third episode, which is called Destruction. So I think that's really interesting, and I wish I'd picked up on it sooner, but I'm just gonna jump in here and throw this in because I think this is really cool. So here you go. So episode 4, Jubilation. We open on Marinette going for a jog, something we've never seen her do before, and she stops to watch an Alliance ad on a billboard nearby. She's blushing, of course, and Tiki's like, hey, I thought you weren't in love with Adrian. And she's like, I'm not. I can't be in love with Adrian or anyone else. We all know how that goes. From there, she spots Mr. Damocles on top of the billboard trying to save a cat, but he ends up like kind of falling and getting stuck. Marinette is about to go and transform to try and save him before another girl shows up who is dressed as Ladybug and with some difficulty manages to get Mr. Damocles down. Marinette recognizes the girl as someone she used to go to school with, and when she tries to talk to her, the girl is just like, I gotta go, bye, and runs away. From there, Marinette remembers that this girl works at like a paint store or like an arts and crafts store, I don't really know, but she decides to go and talk to her under the guise that she's buying paint for her mom's like art classes, because apparently she couldn't just go and buy paint for herself. That's just apparently not a thing. And her goal in this is to try and tell this girl, Soclean, that she can't be Ladybug, it's too dangerous. Or can't pretend to be Ladybug. Marinette gets to the shop and tries to like make small talk with Soclean, trying to get her to admit to pretending to be Ladybug, but it's not working. So eventually Socleen ends up showing Marinette the alliance ring because she has one, and while they're doing this, Marinette tells Socleen what it's like having Adrian in class because Socleen has Adrian as her like little AI avatar on her ring. At the same time, Mr. Damocles is also in the shop because his mask got damaged earlier and he's trying to find a new one. And Marinette is able to kind of inadvertently use Mr. Damocles to chastise Socleen for going out and doing like superhero things. So Marinette has started to kind of doubt her feelings about Socleen. Maybe she was just kind of wrong about who she saw this morning, but then she remembers that Socleen had given her alliance to like kind of look at for a minute, and she's able to use that to see that Socleen was there that morning and it was her pretending to be Ladybug. Before she can go and confront Socleen about it though, she gets an alert about an Akuma and she has to go and do Ladybug things. Socleen is trying to help Mr. Damocles find a new mask, but he's just completely down on himself, doubting his abilities, and just kind of leaves the shop feeling kind of dejected. Marinette comes back after saving the day once again, and she is about to give the ring back to Socleen when an alert comes up that's like, "Wow, you have done so much exercise today. Good job." And we just see this little map pop up and the little dot just goes crazy. It's going everywhere, like not humanly possible for like the 10 minutes that Marinette was gone. And Marinette's like freaking out, like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, I screwed up, this is bad." And Socleen's like, "That's probably just a glitch." So she just resets the ring. We then see Gabriel get an alert on his alliance saying that unusual activity was detected on Socleen's. And in this moment, we see that Emily is his avatar, which just raises a lot of questions for me. Best case scenario, he already had this plan before to like create an AI ring and digitally scanned Emily like before she died. Worst case scenario, he did it with her like coma body, which is just so strange. And I don't like to think about that. I don't want to think about it, and I just think it's weird. Not a fan of that. No, I don't like that this is a thing at all. But at the same time, I want to know who all of these adults have as their avatar. Like, did they choose between young teenage boy or young teenage girl? Because I think both of them, it's a little odd that there isn't like an adult. But whatever. So now Gabriel is convinced that Socleen must be Ladybug because obviously Ladybug took the ring on her whole little fight, so Socleen has to be Ladybug. And also, it just so happens that Socleen and Marinette look very similar to one another. Like, they both have dark hair, they both wear pigtails. Like, what more could you ask for? So it's just very convenient that they both look exactly the same. That's the only reason they did this, was so this confusion thing could happen. Only reason. Monarch then decides to akumatize Mr. Damocles and gives him the power of the Pig Miraculous, which is the power of jubilation, which allows people to see their greatest like desires. I feel like it only really be used in very, very specific instances as a hero. Like, we only saw it used once with Rose in a very, very specific scenario. I don't know, I feel like this is a weird power. As this is happening, we get official confirmation that the Alliance rings are what is being used to transfer the miraculous powers from Monarch to the villains. Like, we all knew that, I'm pretty sure, but like, it's nice to get like the official confirmation that yes, this is what's happening. Darker Owl then goes after Socleen, believing that she is Ladybug, and we get to see Socleen's greatest desire, which is to work alongside Ladybug and Cat Noir. The heroes then show up and are able to save Socleen before they also get hit and are forced to see their own greatest desires. Ladybug does set off her lucky charm before this happens though, and it's an alarm clock. Odd. So they're going through their greatest desires, and it's very weird. So we start and we see the two of them together going on a date to the movies, and they like kiss, and then we see their wedding. Like, we jumped several steps ahead. They're at their wedding, but the weirdest thing about this one to me is that Cat Noir is like in a white suit. He looks exactly like Cat Blanc minus like his eyes. And I just want to know how Marinette would be like okay with this, because to my knowledge, Cat Blanc's like one of her like greatest fears. So like, how is she okay getting married to Cat Noir, who is looking exactly like Cat Blanc? Like, I don't get it, and I think it's very weird. But moving forward, we also see them back with their like OG team, you know. We got Reno, we got Carapace, we got Queen Bee, and they have a kid. Ladybug and Cat Noir have a kid, and then we move forward, and they have more kids, and Cat Noir is wearing the fakest looking mustache ever. It's bad. It's very bad. And then they're on the bridge and their song is playing and it's very sweet. But they keep hearing alarm clocks going off, and finally they realize this isn't real. This isn't happening. And it's very bittersweet because the moment itself is very sweet up until then. But then they have to be like, it's not real. And they're able to like leave like the mind control trap and are able to get back to reality. So they get back to reality and are able to defeat Dr. Owl, but in the process, Cat Noir almost like intentionally cataclysms him. He's like on top of him, like about to do it before he's like, oh wait, no, I'm not supposed to do that. Which for someone who is so freaked out about doing it in the last episode, it's very weird that all of a sudden he's like about to do it again. I don't know. Once again, they do not find the miraculous that was being used because they haven't figured out that it's the Alliance rings yet. So they're able to talk to Soclean after, and Ladybug thanks her for her help, but is like, you really shouldn't be pretending to be me. It's not safe, and Soclean agrees. The end of the fight isn't as triumphant as it should feel, though. Everyone's just kind of like, that happened. They just feel very deflated. So Marinette does still end up getting the paint and brings it back to her mom, and her mom thanks her by giving her an Alliance ring. However, we know that this isn't going to work, and Marinette knows this, so she like denies her mom's gift, saying, it's just not practical for sewing. It's going to get in the way, and you should just take it instead. It's going to be great for keeping track of orders and stuff in the bakery. And her mom's like, oh, that makes sense, and her mom keeps the ring instead. You know, this was a smart move on Monarch's part, though, to try and use the Alliance rings. Like, it would have worked had Marinette not stolen Soclean's Alliance and used that instead. She never would have known. The very end of the episode shows Ladybug and Cat Noir sitting on top of a roof having a little chat about what they saw in like their greatest desires. They're both kind of confused by it, but eventually Ladybug's like, it's gotta be like a trick, you know? Monarch's trying to like manipulate us, and Cat Noir is like, yeah, that's gotta be what it is. But neither of them seem super convinced, and they both seem very disappointed in the prospect of that being what it is. All right, this is certainly an episode of the show. I'll be honest, I just don't really care about this episode. I don't think it really does much other than confirm something that we all kind of knew to begin with, so I don't know. I think they could have just put this in a more substantial episode and just gotten rid of this one completely. I do think it's interesting to see how the Alliance ring like tracked activity. I think that was one of the more important things, but I think that could have been put somewhere else. This episode only exists to introduce a character, to have her get confused for Ladybug, and then we'll probably never see her again, because this is just what happens. We get introduced to a character and then they're just like poof, gone. I don't want to talk about this episode anymore because I'm not the biggest fan of it, so let's just move on. Alright, episode 5, Illusion. Before we start, I want to make a note on like the order of the episodes. Technically, this episode was released 8th overall in the season, but if you go to Wikipedia and look at the list of episodes, the production code for Illusion is 505, which stands for Season 5, Episode 5, which means that it's the 5th episode of Season 5. So this is why I'm putting it here. If you think about it in the context of the show, it makes a lot more sense if this episode takes place here rather than after Reunion. There are a lot of things that happen in this episode that explain things that happen in later episodes, which because I didn't watch this episode where it's technically supposed to be, I was very confused about them. Like, well, I'll get to it in the episode, but that's why I'm putting this here and not somewhere else. So I'm not going by release order, I'm going by like the production code order because it just makes sense. Okay. All right, so we open on a newscast of Parisians being interviewed about their thoughts on Ladybug and Cat Noir, and pretty much everyone seems to be very supportive of them, except for Chloe, who's just angry that she can't be Queen Bee anymore. And, you know, of course, we gotta have Chloe be like the brat because she's not allowed to have character development that was clearly set up for her and then just thrown out the window. Because no, Chloe can't be a good person. No, that's not allowed. Adrien is in his room talking to Plag, and he's starting to realize how weird it is that his face is like the AI for the Alliance, and basically people can make him like the little AI on the Alliance say like whatever they want, which is very strange. So he decides that he is going to talk to his dad about this and is like, hey, can we not do this? I'm not comfortable with this. He ends up finding Gabriel in the kitchen, which is very weird. This is the moment I'm talking about that we get an explanation for here that we didn't get for later episodes. But so he's in the kitchen making breakfast for Adrien, which is so weird. So Gabriel tells Adrien that he has cleared up his schedule so that he can actually go to Adrien's parent-teacher conference that day, which, whoa, Gabriel's doing something a parent would do. Very, very, very strange. So then Adrien's like, I'm not comfortable with my face being used on Alliance. And Gabriel's like, it's just an image, don't worry about it. Like, you don't even have to model anymore. So I thought this would be good. And now we get to spend more time together as a family because we used to be so much closer before your mom disappeared. But now we've grown apart and I want to fix that. Whose fault is that, sir? Whose fault is that you and your son are not close anymore? You know, if I recall correctly, you were the one that completely isolated yourself from your son, locked him in the house, and just completely ignored him from the moment that your wife disappeared. You know, you were the one to push him into a career that he didn't want to do, kind of once again making that kind of bond between you two like stray even further, you know? There's a lot of tension there, and he literally got to the point where he snuck out of the house to go to school. He went to school. He snuck out to go to school. No kid does that unless they are so isolated that they have absolutely no choice. Like, dude, you have to be a different kind of awful for your child to sneak out to go to public school. Like, come on. This is all your fault. You are the one that caused this rift between you and Adrien. It's all your fault. All your fault, buddy. Marinette and Alia are on a phone call as they're getting ready for school, talking about all of the different ways that Monarch might be able to give the different villains the miraculous powers, and they can't seem to come up with anything. They have no idea. Once the main group gets inside of the school, Nino starts to tell Adrien about his plan to form a resistance to try and help Ladybug and Cat Noir. Nino wants to tell him more, but he can't right now. There are too many people listening. After this, we get to see Adrien go to the cafeteria for the first time. I'm guessing because he left for photo shoots in the middle of the day. And his fascination with everything is just so sweet. He's just so excited. He's looking at all the different foods and he's so excited. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen someone so excited about cafeteria food. This is weird, but it's also just kind of adorable. But yeah, so he's very, very excited about this. Marinette's next to him and she asks him if it's kind of weird that his face is being used on Alliance when it's not really him. And he just kind of echoes Gabriel's words from earlier, although doesn't seem super convinced by them. However, he does say that now it gives him more time to spend with his friends, his family, Marinette. He specifically says Marinette's name, and I'm like, ooh, okay, buddy. Okay, we're going there. Okay. He even says that now they have time to hang out outside of school. So they all get their lunch and they sit down at a table, and Nino starts to explain his plan a little bit more. He wants to be able to do something in order to help Ladybug and Cat Noir, since now he can't do it as Carapace. And he also reveals that Alia was Rena Rouge, which, I don't know, buddy, I don't think you were supposed to do that. But it's hilarious to see Marinette and Adrian try and react the right way to this, because they both knew about this. They just didn't, they're not supposed to know. So it's very funny to see the two of them try and react to this. I think it's hilarious. Around this time, Lila tries to like sit down with them, but Marinette's like, no. And Nino, for once, kind of agrees with her, because he's like, he doesn't want her to sit with her because he's trying to explain his like resistance plans. So as in kind of like a retaliation, she sits down somewhere else and then posts a picture of Adrian in the cafeteria online, and then a whole bunch of people like swarm into the cafeteria. And what I want to know is why this doesn't happen more often. Like, everyone knows, at least within the school, everyone knows that Adrian goes there. So how is he not constantly getting swamped by fans every single day? Like, how is this not a thing? Like, I just don't understand. So that part was a little bit confusing to me. But now, because there's so many people there, Nino's like, all right, we got to get somewhere else. I need to explain this to you guys without people hearing. So they head down to the boiler room, and Lila follows them close, but not super close behind. So down in the boiler room, Nino starts to explain his plan. He wants to akumatize a parent and record it so they can analyze the footage to figure out how these villains are getting the powers of the other miraculous. And everyone's kind of like, how is this gonna work? How are we gonna do this? This doesn't seem like a smart plan. And Nino's like, we're gonna cause the akumatization. And everyone's like, whoa, buddy, you sure this is a good idea? And he's like, yeah. And he turns to Adrian and he's like, we're gonna akumatize your dad today. And Adrian's like, what? He's very confused. Everyone's confused, and Alia seems to be very adamant that this is a bad idea. Marinette and Adrian are like slowly coming around to it, because obviously as heroes, they want to know how Monarch is doing this, but they can't let on that they're heroes, you know, but they still want to figure this out. So they're like, I think we should go for it. I think we should go for it. And Alia's like, I still don't like this idea, but everyone else wants to do it, so I guess I'm gonna go along with it. So Gabriel walks into the school and he starts walking up the stairs to Adrian's classroom, and he finds Lila on the stairs. She had heard the entire plan from the group and tells Gabriel that there's a group of people that are going to try and akumatize him. And yeah, so this does raise the question, does Lila know that Gabriel is Monarch? I think she does. I don't know if he knows that she knows. There's a weird kind of connection here, because she's obviously working with him as Gabriel because she's in like all the modeling gigs and stuff, but I also think that she knows that he's Monarch because she's so comfortable with being akumatized. So I feel like she's gotta know, right? She's gotta know. Now we get to a scene that I honestly couldn't watch because I got too much extreme secondhand embarrassment from it. It hasn't been that bad in the show for a while. I didn't think they were gonna go back to that, but they did. So I didn't actually really watch the scene. I just kind of skipped through it. But to the best of my knowledge, they just dump a whole bunch of food on Gabriel during the parent-teacher conference. So Gabriel gets up. He's like super mad, acting like he's super mad. I don't think he's mad because he knows that they're trying to akumatize him, so he's like putting on a show here. But he basically like grabs Adrian and drags him out to the car. He is very angry. Early in the episode, he had told Adrian to start calling him dad, not father, so when Adrian tries to say, Dad, I'm really sorry about what happened, Gabriel like snaps at him like, no, call me father. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. So they get back to the house and Gabriel like storms off. And he comes up with the plan to create an illusion of himself getting akumatized to throw the heroes off their scent. So that way he has complete control over what they see. So the others call Adrian being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We didn't think something like that would actually happen. We didn't think it'd be this bad. And they're like, can you go and talk to your dad and try to apologize for us? So Adrian goes to his dad's office and he's going to try and apologize, but then he sees that Gabriel, or an illusion of Gabriel, has like the monarch mask over his face and whatever. So Nina's like, record this. I'm really sorry that this happened, but record this. And so Adrian is able to record Gabriel getting akumatized into the collector once again. And to their knowledge, the collector now has the power of the horse miraculous for like teleportation and stuff. So eventually the heroes get there and they're able to fight him, and Adrian had sent the video over to Nino, so he and Alia are like poring over the video, like slowing it down, trying to find something, right? So because the collector has the teleportation miraculous, he is like zooming. He is going so fast that the heroes can't catch him, because if they touch him, it's not good, right? Then the illusion would disappear and the whole thing's up. They eventually are able to like defeat the illusion, and Gabriel is able to kind of like swap places with the illusion, so like it's actually him there. So if he does get touched, then it's not just gonna disappear. The two heroes plus Nino and Alia are talking to Gabriel on the front steps of the Agreste mansion, and Nino is like apologizing for everything, but also kind of explaining his plan, how he was like gonna form a resistance, and this was the plan, to record an akumatization so that he could help Ladybug and Cat Noir with figuring out how this worked. And Gabriel's interested in this, and he's like, I'd be happy to help out with this resistance wherever I could. Which is kind of weird that he wants to help out a whole bunch of high schoolers with their little resistance plan, but whatever. Nino then reveals to the heroes that during the video, they see this little kind of bolt of lightning hit the villain. It was very fast, but he thinks that this must be how Monarch is transferring the powers to the villains, which Ladybug and Cat Noir are very thankful for. They're like, all right, we got this. We know what's happening now, so let's go. So after this, the main group ends up back at school, and Nino reveals that the whole class wants to help with the resistance, including Lila. Marinette is obviously against this. She doesn't trust this, but everyone else is like vouching for her, so she kind of has to give in eventually. All right, I have very mixed thoughts on this episode. On the one hand, there is just so much extreme secondhand embarrassment. Like, I haven't seen that much secondhand embarrassment in a very long time from the show. Like, the last time it was like that bad that I can remember was like Puppeteer 2 with the whole wax museum, Marinette Adrian fiasco. So episode frustrates me in that sense. It's also a villain that we've seen a million times, and I'm sick of that. I get it. I can't keep introducing characters, but I wish we'd get more villain designs. I think that'd be more fun if they kept updating them. Like, take Chloe, for example. Every time she gets akumatized, she gets a brand new design. And I think that's such a fun concept because it always relates to the reason why she was akumatized. And I think that'd be more fun if we like played into that more often than what they're doing right now. On the other hand, this episode does set up a lot of things that can be used for future conflicts, which is really exciting. As much as I don't like Lila, she is one of the most interesting antagonists that they have on the show, especially with her way of being able to like manipulate people and just get them to believe anything that she wants them to, and just kind of like the power that she has over people. I think is very interesting, and I wish they utilized her more. She only shows up like a couple times a season, and it honestly feels like a waste of such a good character. Like, I wish they would either use her more or just kind of wrap her storyline up. Like, either or. I think that would be the best way to handle this character moving forward, because I don't think they're really using her to her fullest potential in this, and they're kind of just dragging her out. Like, I just want something to happen with her. Also, Gabriel is on some weird shit right now, and it's freaking me out. We have literally never seen him be this like expressive and open with Adrian, so seeing this happen is so weird, and I cannot believe that. I don't believe it's genuine. I do not think he's actually being this sincere about wanting to repair his relationship with his son, because it is far too late for that. No matter what, I think the damage has been dealt, and I don't think there's any way that, like, even if he does somehow fix his relationship with his son, when he reveals, like, if he somehow succeeds and he reveals what he's done, there is no way Adrian's gonna be like, oh, cool, thanks, Dad. Like, no way. That's not happening. Like, I don't believe he's being genuine. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong here and say that he is being genuine, but I just genuinely don't think that he is. I think this is some, like, manipulation tactic, or he has got some sort of, like, ulterior motive behind this, but I don't think he's being genuine. I don't think there's any way he's being genuine, which really sucks for Adrian. This whole episode just kind of left me feeling very uncomfortable, and I think that's the point, but it still just made me feel like, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. Episode 6, Determination. So we open this episode on Marinette dropping Kagami off at fencing practice, and as she does this, we get the absolute cliche of a scene where Adrian's standing at the top of the steps and he's watching Marinette, and she takes her helmet off and her hair is down and it's like flowing in the wind. It's a complete cliche. And of course, what's there? The pink filter. The little pink bubbly filter that's always there. Of course. So Marinette, like, waves, like, hi, and then she, like, leaves. And Adrian's very disappointed and, like, asking me, like, why didn't she stay? And Kagami's like, dude, she doesn't do fencing. Why would she stay? And Adrian's like, oh. Yeah, right. In the locker room, Adrian finds a watercolor painting that Kagami did of Marinette, and he's just staring at it before calling her beautiful. Kagami sees this, and she's not having any of this. She's like, all right, let's go. So she takes Adrian's phone, dials Marinette's number, and is like, all right, you're gonna call her and you're gonna ask her out. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this for too long. And Adrian's like, no, she's just a friend. And Kagami's like, no. I can tell she's not. Call her. Marinette has made her way over to the kiddie section band practice and very quickly receives said call from Adrian. She, of course, freaks out, but she answers, and Adrian's like, hey, I've been meaning to tell you my feelings about you have definitely changed, and I want to meet up and talk about it. And he also says that his feelings probably started to change around the time that they went to the wax museum together for the first time, and this just threw me for a loop. What do you mean this is the moment where Adrian's feelings started to change? How can this embarrassment of a scene be the moment that Adrian's feelings started to change? Like, there is no way that Marinette just doing whatever she did during that moment convinced Adrian, oh yeah, I'm gonna be in love with this girl now. Like, no way. And that was also so long ago. Why did it take so long for him to finally, like, accept that maybe his feelings had, like, changed? And honestly, he probably didn't even accept it. He wouldn't have accepted if Kagami didn't, like, intervene. But, like, I feel like there's so many better moments that I could have picked for this, because there hasn't really been any signs that Adrian's feelings towards Marinette have changed, like, since that moment. So I don't think that really would have worked. I think there are better moments, and it would have worked better if it was, like, sooner, like, probably some point either end of season 3 or at some point during season 4, if we'd actually started to see that shift happen. But we haven't. We've only really started to see it here, and we're just taking Adrian's word here that his feelings started to change at the time of, like, Puppeteer 2. And I'm like, no. I refuse to accept that this is the moment. Like, there's no way that when fans are going to talk about the love story between Marinette and Adrian, we have to mention the fact that the moment that Adrian realized he had feelings for Marinette was during that scene. No, I'm not doing it. I refuse to accept that this is the moment. I cannot accept that. No way. So Adrian then suggests, hey, we should meet at the wax museum. I can't believe it. And Marinette is, like, still freaking out, but she agrees. And I love watching both Kagami and then Marinette's friends react in the background of this scene, because Kagami is just so impatient. Like, Adrian's kind of skirting around the big thing for a minute, and so she's just like, get on with it, let's go, come on. And Marinette's friends are like all like celebrating. They're like, oh my god, it's happening, let's go. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening here. So despite the fact that this is seemingly everything that Marinette has wanted since meeting Adrian, she's kind of got a look of disappointment on her face as this is all going down. Her friends are like all celebrating around her, but she can't bring herself to join, and she's just not as happy as one would really expect her to be. Back with Adrian, he ends up telling Kagami that he's honestly not exactly sure what his feelings for Marinette are, but he knows that they've definitely changed. So Marinette's friends have decided to throw a little celebration for her, for Adrian finally asking her out, but she hasn't really joined them. She's kind of still sitting like on the deck of the boat while they're all kind of like in the cabin, and yeah, she's not feeling this. Luca notices and decides to go over and talk to her, and Marinette ends up telling him that she can't really be in love with Adrian, and she vaguely mentions that her crush on him caused her to make like a huge mistake, and she always makes a mess of everything when he's around, and just this can't work. She can't do it. Luca then tells her that maybe there's just too much going on around you, and if you just spend some time with Adrian, you might be able to better sort out your feelings. And I want to pause this here and say I love Luca so much. He is genuinely such a good guy. He doesn't need to be this good of friends with Marinette, but he was still so insistent after they broke up that he still wanted to be friends with her when he really didn't need to be. And he has always been there for her no matter what. And he's also still so supportive of her potential relationship with Adrian. And I love that he doesn't need to be again. He has no obligation to, but he is still so supportive, always being there for her and always giving her advice when it comes to this thing. And he is also keeping like the biggest secret for both her and Adrian, and they don't even know it. And he is doing it so well. And I love Luca so much. I love him so much. He is amazing. And I just want the best for him. So Marinette is still kind of freaking out about this whole situation, and she ends up asking Luca to go with her for support. Kagami has also gone with Adrian for support, and they're waiting outside of the museum for Marinette. The two pairs spot each other as Marinette and Luca are walking up to the entrance, and immediately both pairs are like, oh my gosh, are they together? Well, Marinette and Adrian are like, oh my gosh, are they together? Despite, at least in Marinette's case, despite the fact that Kagami has told her several times that she is not back with Adrian and she's not going to be. So they end up meeting up, and they both ask each other like, hey, are you guys like together? And Kagami like quickly shuts Marinette down like, no, I told you this. I'm not getting back together with him. You know this. You know how this goes. And yeah, so that's that. Luca and Kagami then go to leave, but Marinette runs back to Luca like, no, please stay with me. Please stay with me. I can't do this. Please be here. And Luca's like, okay, fine, I'll stay. And Kagami like sees this, and she's like, I'm gonna stay with you, Adrian. You're probably gonna need me. So throughout this whole time, Luca and Kagami are trying to walk away from Marinette and Adrian to like give them their space to talk, but it's not working. Marinette's just being her usual weird self, trying to avoid the conversation as much as possible. At one point, she ends up running to Luca, being like, nope, I can't do this. No, I feel like I'm just destined to be alone, and I don't think this can work. And Luca's like, no, you're fine. And he ends up looking back at Adrian, and then he like pulls Marinette into a hug. And I think what's going on here is he's realizing that Marinette is never going to make a move. She's not going to do it. So I think he's trying to play out the jealousy card here with Adrian. Like, he knows that Adrian has a better chance of making a move on Marinette than Marinette does with Adrian. So he's trying to play up the jealousy card here. So upon seeing Luca hug Marinette, Adrian is downright distraught. He tells Kagami, I still don't know what my feelings are, but all I know is I want to be in Luca's position right now. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Oh my god, that's so cute. That's so cute. So Adrian continues to try and talk to Marinette, but she always manages to find a way to like get out of the conversation. Eventually though, Luga and Kagami are successful in leaving the two of them alone, and Marinette and Adrian find themselves in the superhero exhibit. So at the same time that all of this is going on, the curator of the museum is meeting with the mayor about the superhero exhibit, and the mayor tells her, no, we can't have this. The heroes have kind of failed. We don't need this. And the curator's like, no, we need the hope. The heroes provide hope for the people of Paris, so we need to have this exhibit for them. And the mayor's like, nope, shut it down. So this gets the curator akumatized. She is given Stomp's power, which is like, makes it so none of the other miraculous powers have any effect on her, which is like, honestly kind of overpowered now that I'm like thinking about it. It's pretty overpowered. So back in the superhero exhibit, Adrian is trying to talk to Marinette, and she's like, no, I'm the problem. I mess everything up. I can't do this. And Adrian's trying to reassure her, no, you're not the problem. Adrian's like insistent that she can tell him anything, and it finally feels like we might be getting somewhere with this conversation when the villain bursts through the door, like breaking it down. The two of them hide, and they watch as the curator animates all of the different wax statues with these like cards she has, and then leaves. The two are able to kind of separate and are able to transform. They find the villain, and they're trying to talk to her, being like, hey, if you really want to help us, stop being akumatized. Like, reject the Akuma. And she's like, no, I think this is gonna work better. So she leaves, and they're left to fight against the animated wax statues of the heroes, and they find that when they break the cards that are keeping them animated, a small piece of the Akuma is stored inside, which means they have to break every card. So they go and do that, and they're doing well, but then they come across the Ladybug and Cat Noir statues. It's going pretty well. However, the Cat Noir statue is fighting Ladybug, and she gets distracted. She can't seem to hurt him. So Cat Noir has to come and save her, and as he does this, we see the pink filter around him. So this is slightly off topic, but every time Ladybug calls her Lucky Charm, I am reminded about how much better her suit looks when she does this. Like, it's just such a better balance between the red and black, and I love the suit design so much, and I wish this was just like her permanent suit design now. I just think it looks so much better. I just like it so much, and I wish that this was the permanent suit design. They finally go to confront the villain again, and the curator has both Chloe and the mayor like captured. Chloe is able to get into Ladybug's head, feeding on her insecurities about the whole situation, with Monarch saying that it's all her fault. She should have stopped this. It's all her fault. So this causes the two heroes to end up getting captured, and Cat Noir has to come in with the reassuring speech once again, because that seems to be his only job. You know, that's just how it goes. This does work though, and Ladybug is able to stop the villain. From there, the mayor finally agrees, all right, you can do the superhero exhibit, and they're like good to go. As the two heroes are leaving, Ladybug thanks Cat Noir for saving her, and then tries to kind of confess her feelings here, which again, didn't really know she had feelings up until now, but whatever, it's fine. But Cat Noir kind of like misunderstands her and just kind of takes it as her being like, yeah, we're such good friends, right? And he's like, yeah, we're such good friends, aren't we? Before mentioning that he has fallen for someone else, which just like shatters Ladybug. She's like, oh no, I can't do this. So Marinette and Adrian reconnect at the museum, but Marinette makes up an excuse and just like immediately leaves before they can continue the conversation they were having from before. Adrian is standing there with Kagami, and he's like, I figured it out. I'm in love. Yay. Outside of the museum, it has started to rain, and Marinette spots a poster of Cat Noir. She ends up like falling to her knees in front of the poster, and it's raining, and Tiki's like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm not okay. I'm in love. Like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe they've done this. But it's a very dramatic scene. It is very, very dramatic. So this episode is very frustrating, but not because it's bad or anything. It's just we have been waiting so long for something like this to happen, only for it to get flipped around both ways. So it's just like, oh, we were so close. It's very much a feeling of like, we were almost there, we almost had it, and then it's like, nope, you don't have it anymore, haha. I'll admit, when I originally watched this episode, I definitely thought things were going way too fast. Like, I hadn't really picked up on the Adrian kind of falling for Marinette scene sort of in this season, so I'm like, wow, he's shown zero signs, and all of a sudden he's like, Marinette, oh, Marinette, and I'm like, where is this coming from? I just didn't understand. I still think it's going too fast, but there's at least a couple other like little scenes, at least in this season, that make us believe that, okay, yeah, he's definitely starting to fall for her. I wish we'd seen more of it earlier, but at least there's something. However, there is nothing with Ladybug. All of a sudden in this episode, she's just like, oh my gosh, Cat Noir? Whoa. And I'm like, whoa, girl, where'd this come from? Where? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it? Because I didn't see it at all. It all feels like it's moving a little bit too fast, if you get what I mean. I do think it's very interesting to see the contrast in the way that Adrian's choosing to pursue Marinette compared to how Cat Noir pursued Ladybug. Like, Cat Noir is very flirty, very open, very direct in what he was doing, and Adrian's a little more reserved, a little like more hesitant, not very sure of things. So I think that's very interesting, and I'm curious to see if his Cat Noir tendencies start to kind of come out more, like the more time he spends with Marinette, like the closer they get. Like, I'm curious to see if that happens, or if it really is just such a stark personality difference between the two and there is less of a blend with it, because we see a good blend between Marinette and Ladybug. Like, we see Marinette have her like Ladybug moments as Marinette, and we also see Ladybug have kind of her kind of clumsy moments as well, like Marinette. So there's more of a blend between the two of them, whereas it feels like Cat Noir and Adrian are very two distinct characters sometimes. Like, sometimes it's very easy to forget that those two are the same exact characters. Like, they just have very different personalities, just like the way they act. Like, obviously they're still the same guy, but they feel very different in a way that Marinette and Ladybug do not, if that makes sense. As for Marinette, I'm very shocked that she's sticking to her guns about this whole not being in love with Adrian thing. I really thought the moment that Adrian started like confessing that he feels the same about her, she would have just folded and was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I love you too, this is great. I really thought that's what would have happened, but no, she's sticking to it. She's really insisting that she is not in love with Adrian anymore. I don't believe it, but she's insisting it. So I think that the most that I can hope from this, though, is that Marinette slowly becomes more comfortable around Adrian, since she is supposedly not in love with him anymore. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll see. We'll see. So now it's official. The love square has reversed, and I want to talk about why I think this was really important to happen. I think that this was very needed because it would have felt kind of unrealistic if the two of them got together after only having been like in love with like one half of the other person. You know, we've only seen Adrian be in love with Ladybug, and we've only seen Marinette be in love with Adrian, you know? Like, I don't think it was gonna really work. I don't think it would have been super believable if all of a sudden Adrian was just in love with Marinette and Marinette was just in love with Cat Noir, you know, like just kind of accepted that. And I think we really needed to see the two of them appreciate the other halves of each character, even if they don't realize that they're the same person, because they obviously don't. But I think it's important for them to realize that they love both halves of each person, even if it doesn't work out the way we think it might. I think it's important that we see that Adrian can love both Ladybug and Marinette can love both Adrian and Cat Noir. I think that's important, and I'm glad we're seeing that, and that's why I've been such a big advocate for reversing the love square. I think that's so essential, and the way that things have been set up in the show, this really needed to happen. I do think it would have been more beneficial if they took a little bit more time to flesh out the love square reversing rather than just having the two of them just declare their love for one another like almost immediately. It was bad for Marinette though. Like all of a sudden in this episode she's just like, I love Cat Noir, let's go. And I'm just like, this feels weird. I don't love this. It just feels a little bit unrealistic, but whatever, it's fine. Episode 7, Passion. So once again, Marinette and Alia are having another sleepover, and Marinette is telling Alia about her new crush on Cat Noir. Alia starts to speculate that the reason that she found such an unavailable crush the second Adrien starts showing his feelings for her is because she is running away from her feelings. And Marinette just denies this. She's like, no, that's not what's happening. And then she just like leaves for school in her pajamas super early to avoid having this conversation. Adrien then wakes up and immediately says Marinette's name when he wakes up. He's like, I'm just like, wow, dude, you are so down bad. Like, wow. He like continues to say her name as he's getting ready. He even draws like a little picture of her in like the steam on his bathroom mirror. Like, wow, you are in deep, my dude. You are in deep. Plag tries to talk to him about this, like, hey, I thought you were in love with Ladybug. What's going on? And Adrian's like, I was, but it was high time that I moved on because she's clearly not interested in me. And oh, of course he has to do this now, but he's right, though. He's right. Ladybug wasn't showing any interest in him. He needed to move on at this point. I do not blame him in the slightest for this. Adrien then makes his way into the kitchen where Gabriel is once again making him food. Watching this for the first time without the context of illusion was very confusing. I'm just like, why is Gabriel making food and no one's talking about this? What is going on? This is very strange. So Natalie goes to wake Adrien up and finds that he's not in his room, so she goes to the kitchen and finds him there. She sees that he's kind of like looking at his pancakes, kind of like, he's kind of like picking at them, like, I don't really want to eat this. And she immediately chastises Gabriel like, hey, if you knew your son, you know he'd like his pancakes plain. And Gabriel's like, Adrien said it was fine, so I don't know what you're talking about. They get into like a little argument here, and eventually Gabriel's like, sit down so you can have your breakfast too. And yeah, so Natalie's like, ugh, another time. We'll deal with this another time. So she sits down and Adrien notices a ring on her finger. Ooh. I think we all know what this ring means, but I didn't know when I first watched this, so I was a little confused on what this ring is, but now I think we know what this ring means. Just gonna make things interesting. Anyway, eventually Adrien leaves to go pack his bag for school, and Natalie immediately just flips Gabriel around, shoving him and pitting him against the counter. She is being just a complete badass, and I love it. I love to see it. Natalie then just goes off on Gabriel once again. We love to see it. And she's just like, I only came here to find magic jewels, not do whatever you're doing now, and I'm not into this. She reminds him that he used to be doing all of this for his love for Emily, but now he's doing it out of like complete madness. And she tells him that the only reason that she's still here is that she cares about Adrien and wants to protect him. Gabriel then tries to protest, saying, no, I'm doing all of this for Adrien's happiness. And Natalie is like, no, if you actually cared about your son's happiness, you would actually spend time with him and you would get to know him and not do all of these crazy things that you're doing right now. Gabriel then tells Natalie that Emily deserved so much more than she got, which I'm sure is the case. And then Gabriel shows her his cataclysmed arm and says, I have to do this in order to save myself and to save you as well, because she's still dying from like the peacock miraculous being broken. And this seems to kind of do it for Natalie, because this means Adrien would be alone. If they don't follow through with this, Adrien won't have anybody, and she very clearly cares about him. There's like a little moment earlier where it seems like the two of them are fighting to see who can be a better parent to Adrien, which Natalie would win, obviously. But yeah, she very clearly cares about Adrien, and she's like, okay, fine, I'll stay. Back in his room, Adrian is struggling to figure out how to tell Marinette how he feels, so he decides that he's going to go and talk to Natalie for some advice. In Natalie's room, we see her open up a safe behind a painting to find a phone inside. On the phone are videos of Emily, and she's like directly addressing the camera and directly addressing like Natalie as well. Like clearly the videos are meant for Natalie. In the video, Emily tells Natalie that she needs to be there for Adrian to keep Gabriel from going on this crazy quest that he seems so set on, because Adrian needs both Gabriel and Natalie to be there for him. And then Natalie starts crying, saying that she's sorry that she failed her, but she promises that she is going to get the miraculous before Gabriel does. So Adrian then knocks on the door, kind of snapping Natalie out of it, and once he comes in, he starts telling her about his dilemma. Natalie tells him that love has always been complicated for her before she's overcome in like a fit of coughing. Adrian then asks if the same thing that happened to his mom is happening to her, and Natalie's like, no, you don't need to worry about me, I'm fine. Natalie then goes to Gabriel, telling him to akumatize her so that she can always catch her prey. She's given the powers of illusion, subjection, and passion, which will allow her to draw like whatever she wants to have. She then sets off, creating an illusion of Time Taggart to lure out Cat Noir and Ladybug. So at school, Adrian like bumps into Marinette, and she can immediately tell that like something's wrong, like something's off with him, and asks him about it. He then tells her that someone that he cares about is sick and he can't do anything about it, and he's like really worried for them. Marinette then tells him that it's okay and that he just needs to be there for them, and that's what's most important. Adrian then says that, well, every time that he's with her, he always feels better, so that must be the trick, which causes Marinette to like blush. I just wish if the love square was gonna reverse, the dynamics would change, because this was one of my least favorite dynamics between the two of them, and it's still going on even though the love square is reversed, and I want this to end. I am so sick of how ridiculously awkward Marinette is around him. Please, I just want this to change. That is all. Like, I know it's new. I know things haven't really gotten a chance to develop yet, but I'm ready for this to be done. I'm ready for it to be done now. Please, thanks. We do get a cute little scene of Tiki and Plag talking to one another. Plag is like freaking out about all this like lovey stuff, and I want more Tiki and Plag scenes. I think they're so cute together. There is then a report about Time Taggart, and the two heroes are able to sneak off in order to transform. Once they get to the scene of the fight, Natalie locks both of them in as targets and sends like little rays of the Be Miraculous after them. They try to chase after Time Taggart for a while, but they stop for a moment, and Ladybug gets hit with the Be Miraculous. Cat Noir is able to get her out of there before he can get hit, and they make it to the sewer where he is able to detransform, which causes like the target to like disappear, because it was targeting Cat Noir, not Adrian. He is able to get Ladybug to detransform as well, so that kind of remobilizes her. She's not frozen anymore. They obviously don't see each other's identities here, but they are going to switch Miraculous, because obviously Ladybug and Cat Noir are targets, so they gotta switch things up. But I'm so excited. I love when they switch Miraculous. At one point during this, Adrian has both the earrings and the ring in his hand, and he's like, what if we made our own wish? And Marinette has to tell him, no, we can't do that, because there's like a balance to it all. There has to be like an even exchange. So like for every problem we fix, another problem would appear, and it would just be like this never-ending cycle. And I feel like this kind of idea should have been brought up sooner. Like, we as the audience knew that the wish would not have been good, but the characters themselves, as far as I know, have never actually like talked about this, and I feel like that should have been something that would have come up sooner. Like, I feel like it should have, but I don't know. Here we go. So they managed to switch Miraculous, and when they transform, nothing shows up, so they know that their plan worked. So the two continue the fight, and Lady Noir is being a lot more flirty than usual, and it's making me think that it's gotta be some sort of side effect of the Black Cat Miraculous, because like Cat Noir is only flirty as Cat Noir. He's not flirty as Adrian. And Marinette's never been this flirty. And all of a sudden she starts like flirting with Mr. Bug. I'm like, it's gotta be something with the miraculous that makes him flirty, you know? I feel like it's gotta be that, right? It might not be, but I think it's gotta be. It'd be fun if it was. So eventually they figure out that the Akuma is in the Agreste mansion. They get there and are able to destroy it. After this, Gabriel bursts into the room demanding to know what happened, and Mr. Bug is furious. He cannot believe that Monarch went after someone so fragile for his own like needs and calls him a monster. And obviously Gabriel hears this because he's there, and I just love that he gets to hear this. I think that's great. I love it. So the two end up leaving, and Marinette ends up back with Alia and is telling her about the whole thing. When Alia asks how things went with Cat Noir, Marinette's just like, it's so easy to talk to him, and I'm able to tell him everything that I can't tell Adrian, and it seems like it's going good. And then she does seem to be slightly delusional when she's like, I think he's just hiding his feelings for me because he doesn't want to hurt me, or something like that, and or like to protect her. And I'm just like, if someone was flirting with me consistently for however long the show has been going on, and then all of a sudden they stopped, I would think, maybe they're not into me anymore. I don't know. That seems like it would be the case. I wouldn't think, he's hiding his feelings to protect me. Yeah, no, that's not what I would think. But Marinette's mind is weird, and I'm not her, so I don't know. We do get a very sweet scene between Adrian and Natalie to wrap the episode up. He tells her that he's always going to be there for her, and she says the same to him before asking about his crush. And the whole episode is just really sweet. They hug, and I love it. Not the whole episode, the whole scene is very cute. So, yeah, I think it's very cute. I think that this is a pretty strong episode. I've always loved Natalie as a character, or at least found her very interesting. So being able to have an episode where we get to see her motivations and understand why she is working with Gabriel in the way that she is, I think is very important. And I'm curious to see how this plays out in the future. I think seeing her past with both Gabriel and Emily is also very interesting. That there is clearly some like strong friendship between Natalie and Emily, so I'm very curious to see how that plays out as well. I love that we finally get this moment for Natalie, because she, again, I think is such an interesting character. I also love that we get to see kind of this like mother-son relationship between her and Adrian that we haven't really seen before, at least not to this extent. Like, we've seen it a couple times in other episodes, but this like really shows that Adrian really cares about her and views her as someone that he can go and talk to for advice, and that Natalie is also fiercely protective of Adrian and is willing to continue working with Gabriel despite not wanting to, in order to make sure that at least one of them is still there for Adrian, most likely her though. As for Marinette and Adrian, I think it's just going to take a while for me to get used to like their new dynamics and stuff. We've spent so long with them being one particular way, and all of a sudden that's changing, and I think it's just throwing me off, you know? Like, I'm just so used to them behaving in a specific way that all of a sudden they're not doing that, and it's weird. It's throwing me off a little bit, and I think that's why I'm not sure if I love all of this. So I want to give it more time. I want to let it play out how it's going to play out, and then I think I'll be able to form a better opinion afterwards. Episode 8, Reunion. So we open on Marinette and Alia in the Louvre, and they're scanning different paintings to try and find the seal of the Guardian. Alia is still on Marinette about this whole being in love with Cat Noir thing, because she still doesn't believe it's real, and especially because Adrian has started to show feelings for her, so she's not convinced that this whole thing is actually happening the way it seems to be playing out. Marinette, however, is all in. She is very convinced that she is in love with Cat Noir now, and is very clear in telling Alia, like, no, I love Cat Noir now. this is how it's gonna be. Marinette then asks Tiki if a past Ladybug and Cat Noir have ever been in love, and Tiki's like, yeah, but I'm not one for romance, so maybe you should ask the Ladybug who is in love with the Cat Noir herself. Tiki then tells her that if she touches the charm that she gave Marinette for her birthday to the Seal of the Guardian, she is going to be able to talk to that Ladybug through something called a reunion. Marinette's like, all right, cool. So there's a statue of Joan of Arc there with the Seal of the Guardian, and Marinette's bringing the charm closer and it starts to glow, which freaks her out. She like stumbles back into a painting, causing it to fall, and it reveals a letter there. A letter from Alex to her dad and brother. So once again, Adrien is in his kitchen. Again, this is a place we've never seen before. And all of a sudden, it's in multiple episodes. Like, I don't know if they just got sick of going to either Gabriel's office or Adrien's bedroom and they needed a new place. So that's what they did. But yeah, this is the first time we've ever really seen the kitchen in a season, and now we're seeing it multiple times. But anyway, he's in the kitchen when he gets a text about the letter and asks his dad if he can go to the Louvre so he can read the letter with the rest of his classmates. Both Gabriel and Natalie tell him he can go, and he runs off. Once they get there, Marinette is still being her weird self around Adrien, and I just want this to end. Like, please get it together. And yeah, Alex's brother Jaleel is there, and he is furious at his dad for letting Alex go on her little, time travel excursion. He has become very absorbed in social media and is believing what it's saying and has him convinced that Ladybug and Cat Noir are not the heroes that they claim to be. So both Jaleel and Alex's dad leave, and Adrien invites Marinette to the movies. Marinette freaks out though and says that I have plans with Alia, and she grabs Alia and runs back into the museum where the statue is. She is able to use the charm and starts to speak with Joan of Arc. She and Tiki are the only ones that can see her, which leads to some very funny scenes from Alia's perspective of just watching Marinette kind of jump around and be strange. So Joan is kind of frustrated that she has been disturbed to ask about a love story, which is understandable. Jaleel is then akumatized by Monarch into the Pharaoh, and he is given the power of the Turtle Miraculous. But this isn't really about the Turtle Miraculous this episode. That's why it's called Reunion, not Protection. Jaleel also has a book of truth with him this time instead. His plan is to set up a whole bunch of walls around the museum where they will ask people questions, and they're questions that only someone who could travel through time would know. He wants to draw Alex out to get her to stop being on her trip. And Monarch's happy about this because that means he'd get the Bunny Miraculous back. Jaleel puts a shelter around his book of truth because that's where his Akuma is, and it's seeming like a foolproof plan, which we know is going to fall apart then. Adrien is outside of the Louvre when this happens, but he's able to transform and gets through the first wall, luckily. Joan ends up helping Ladybug through her first wall, although she takes a very long and roundabout way of answering the question, which is getting on Ladybug's nerves just a little bit. She ends up meeting up with Cat Noir at this point and explains that Joan of Arc is there to help them. However, they get to the next wall, and the book asks them what the weather was like on a specific day in the future. Obviously, Joan can't help them here, so they really need to contact Alex. Using her lucky charm, Ladybug is able to come up with a plan to write a note and put it behind the painting that Alex's letter was behind, asking Alex to find out what the weather was and just write it down before placing it under a statue for her. So that happens. She's able to figure out that it was like a rainy day, and they're able to get through to Pharaoh. However, despite this, Pharaoh is still convinced that Ladybug is manipulating Alex. During the fight, Cat Noir is able to use Cataclysm on the shelter surrounding the book, but before Ladybug can grab it, Jaleel puts up another shelter around the book. And I think this brings up an interesting point that I haven't talked about yet. These villains are able to use their miraculous powers more than once which is something the heroes couldn't do. Like, when Nino was carapace, he could only use shelter once before his, 5-minute timer started. But that does not seem to be the case with the villains, and I'm just wondering why that is. Like, is that just, a perk of the power being transferred rather than being directly used? I don't know. I don't quite understand that. Also, this brings up a question I have about Monarch's powers. Like, when does his timer go off? Does he have a timer? How does that work? Once the villain, once whoever gives powers to, loses their powers, is that when it starts? So, it's never really an issue. I don't think this is ever something that's been, talked about. Or is it just something that comes with being able to use the miraculous for, a long time and being used to it? I don't know. But I don't think this has ever been, actually addressed in the show. And I'm kind of curious to know why that is. Anyways, after this, Pharaoh has Cat Noir captured and is about to take his ring when Ladybug poses a question to him. She's like, if your book knows all truths, why not ask it if I'm the villain? And Monarch's like, no, don't do this. Don't do it, because his plan's about to fail. But Pharaoh's like, okay, let's do it. Let's see. So he asks, and the book reveals that Ladybug and Cat Noir are the heroes and Monarch is the villain, obviously. As a result of this, Jaleel rejects the Akuma and Monarch is pissed. He was so convinced that this was gonna be the time for him, but no, it wasn't. It was not. No. So, yeah, it's kind of funny to watch him be this angry. Ladybug then tells Jaleel that Alex would be proud of him and shows him the pamphlet where Alex had written a note for him on there as well. So after this whole fight, Marinette is back with talking with Joan, and Joan tells her that despite her previous assumptions, she and Cat Noir are a lot stronger than they appear. She then tells her the story about her and her Cat Noir, how they fought against each other because they were both being controlled by the King of England and the King of France, but somehow they realized that they were being manipulated and worked together to help the people of their respective countries. However, Joan ended up getting captured, and in order to protect themselves, they gave up their miraculous. And this is where the story ends because the reunion's memories only go as far back as the wielder was a holder. Marinette ends the reunion and tells Alia that she thinks that there is a good chance that a romance between a ladybug and a black cat could work, but she's wondering if she's going to have to give up her miraculous to do so. Meanwhile, Adrian is just staring at a picture of Marinette, and then Plaid gives him a charm of his own. I like this episode. I think it's rather simple in concept, which is why I didn't have as much to say about it here, but I do like the fact that the charms actually kind of have a use to them. I mean, they didn't need to, but I like that that's there and that's a thing. I also loved learning about a past Ladybug and Cat Noir. I think it's so interesting to see how their battles went and why they were needed. I think it's interesting to know that it's not always miraculous holders constantly fighting against other miraculous holders, that sometimes they are manipulated by higher powers, and I think that's just very interesting. Higher powers isn't people in positions of power, not gods. That's what I meant. I think this is a very cool concept. I also like that they brought Jaleel back for an episode because only Chloe had been against Ladybug and Cat Noir. Everyone else seemed like they were still for Cat Noir, and I feel like that's not the most realistic thing in the world. I feel like there had to have been other people that were really angry with them for what they had done. So I think it's interesting to have that play out with Jaleel, especially because he's got the connection to Alex, so it really strengthens that struggle. And I think that that's just a really interesting concept, and I'm glad we got to see more of it, especially because I think the only reason Chloe's mad at Ladybug and Cat Noir is because she can't be Queen Bee anymore. So yeah, it doesn't seem like a super valid reason to be angry, because I thought she understood why she couldn't be Queen Bee anymore, but whatever. Episode 9, Elation. We open the episode on Ladybug trying to get Cat Noir to have dinner with her, but he politely turns her down. She then asks him if he's got a new girlfriend, but then Cat Noir tells her that he knows what she's doing. He tells her that he couldn't tell her if he had a new girlfriend because the less they know about each other, the better, and the harder it will be for Monarch to unmask them. He then asks, hey, did I pass your test? And she's like, yeah, you did, but she is very disappointed. Cat Noir leaves, and then he is immediately bombarded by a group of fans wanting to get a picture with him. Marinette and Alia are once again having a sleepover, and Marinette's freaking out, thinking that Cat Noir doesn't love her anymore. And I'm just a little confused because I thought he had told her that he had fallen for somebody else before, but all of a sudden now she's like, okay, he's actually in love with somebody else. Alia then tells her how hard it would be to actually have a relationship with a superhero than as like herself as Marinette and not as Ladybug, because they wouldn't be able to reveal their identities to each other, or he wouldn't be able to tell her who he is. But Marinette's insistent that she'd be able to make it work. And then sadly, Marinette starts to take down all of her pictures of Adrien. Speak of the devil, Adrien shows up in the bakery downstairs, asking if Marinette is there. Her parents call her to be like, hey, Adrian's here, can he come up? And she's like, no. And yeah, Alia then like flips out on her, like, hey, what are you doing? She just wants to get to the bottom of why she thinks Marinette is running away from her feelings. Marinette is like continuing to deny this, insisting that no, I'm in love with Cat Noir. So I have some thoughts on this whole situation that I want to talk about here. Firstly, I want to say I understand Alia's perspective here. To her knowledge, Marinette has been madly in love with Adrien for who knows how long and has been so insistent that she's in love with Adrien. And then all of a sudden, Adrien starts to show interest in her, and she suddenly is like, oh, I have a new crush on Cat Noir. Because we did not see any sort of hint that she has a crush on Cat Noir here. So it feels very out of the blue, so I can understand why Alia is very confused, and it seems like Marinette's running away from her feelings. However, Marinette has made it very clear for a while that she is not in love with Adrien anymore, and now she's in love with Cat Noir. And even if she doesn't believe the whole Cat Noir thing, I think Alia should respect Marinette's like decision in not being in love with Adrien anymore and not try and go against her on that. I don't think it's a very good best friend thing to be doing, to be constantly arguing with said best friend about who she should be in love with and who she shouldn't be in love with. I know Alia has good intentions with this because she believes that Marinette is still in love with Adrien but is just running away from her feelings, but at the same time, Marinette's made it very clear that she's not in love with Adrien anymore, and I just think Alia should respect that. After this, Marinette just decides that I need some air and decides to go up on her balcony to kind of walk away from the heated conversation. Back in the bakery, Adrien is getting bombarded by fans once again, and once he finally manages to escape, Marinette's parents tell him that she's not available. So he leaves the bakery and he's really sad, and he tells Plag that it's hard because everything seems to remind him of her, which is really sweet. Then he gets bombarded by fans again. He's able to escape and transforms into Cat Noir, getting up on a balcony that's like right across from Marinette's balcony. And of course, this is the time that Marinette is like walking up onto her balcony to get some like fresh air. They spot each other, and it's initially pretty awkward because they're like refusing to acknowledge that they saw each other. They saw each other and they're like, nope, didn't see you, nope, not at all, nope. Eventually, Cat Noir decides to go over and talk to her and brings a red rose with him. The conversation's a little bit awkward at first, but it's a little bit sweet, and they're actually able to talk to each other. So Cat Noir confesses that he thinks about her a lot and gives her the rose. And I just want to point out that the last Marinette and Cat Noir centered episode was, I'm pretty sure, Were Dad, and during that episode, Cat Noir gave Marinette a pink rose, but during this episode, he gave her a red rose. It moved from friendship to love. So cute. So cute. We love to see it. Marinette then says that she also thinks about him a lot, saying like as a fan, and then Cat Noir's expression kind of falls for a second, and she's like, no, I'm a huge fan. Cat Noir then asks if she'd like to go for a ride under the stars with him, and mentions going to get ice cream as well, which is so cute. And they're like so close to each other and they're like blushing, and this is just so adorable. And like we're finally getting something, and I'm like so excited because we haven't got anything like this before, and it doesn't seem like they're under any sort of influence, so it feels like this is actually gonna like at least stick in their memories, you know, because I swear every time we have something like this, it just all the memories like disappear. And I can't believe I'm rambling about this kids show, but it's still adorable. I'm obsessed. I love it. I'm just hoping they remember it all. So Marinette agrees to this, and the two of them leave, and she's just kind of conveniently forgotten that Alia is still in her room and Tiki is with Alia, not with Marinette. But I mean, she left her for Cat Noir, so can I blame her? No. Speaking of Alia, she is talking to Tiki, and it seems like she's kind of coming to her senses about Marinette being in love with Cat Noir, saying that it's really not that bad of a thing. Tiki then confesses that she's worried that this might be dangerous. And I'm just wondering, where was this energy before? Tiki's been so supportive of Marinette pursuing Adrien, and she's known that Adrien is Cat Noir for like a long time. And I feel like if she was really that worried about it, there would have been some sort of like deterrent from this, you know? I feel like Tiki would have tried to steer Marinette away from Adrien a little bit, unless she's specifically worried about Marinette and Cat Noir together, which I can kind of understand for reasons we'll get into later. But like if she's just saying in general like a ladybug and a black cat being together is dangerous, where was this energy for the past 4 seasons? Because it hasn't been there, so I don't know. Alia then goes up to try and talk to Marinette on the balcony, but finds that she is gone and that she didn't take Tiki with her. So Marinette and Cat Noir are just chilling above Paris, like really above Paris, and it's like, I don't know if Fear Heights, but I feel like this would be like way too much for me. Like, no sir, I don't think I'd be able to handle being that high up, just being like supported by one dude on a metal stick. No, not gonna happen. I'm gonna sit this one out. Thank you. They end up finding Andre's ice cream cart and go there because that's the only place they can go and get ice cream in Paris, apparently. So they get to the ice cream stand and they're just being like absolutely adorable together, and this is why I was pushing for the two of them. This is what I wanted. I love this. Once they get there though, Andre's confused. He's like, no, Cat Noir, you're supposed to be with Ladybug, and Marinette, you're supposed to be with Adrien. What's going on? This doesn't work. And he like actually says this to them. Like, who does he think he is? He has no right to tell these kids who they're supposed to be with. Like, excuse me? Hello? No way. No way. Not gonna happen. No. I don't get why this is a thing. He has no right to be telling people this. Ugh, it's none of his business in the first place, and it's just, he has no right to tell 2 kids who they can and can't be in love with. That's not okay. So the two end up leaving like really sad, and they end up asking each other, they're sitting on the beach and they ask each other about their old crushes, and they both confirm that they're no longer in love with Adrien and Ladybug. So we then get this really, really sweet moment where Marinette kisses Cat Noir's cheek and then his nose. And then they kiss. Finally. Yay. I never thought I'd see the day. However, much to the disappointment of fans all around the world, Cat Noir pulls away, saying that it's weird because she doesn't know who he is under the mask, and he feels like he's taking advantage of her because of that. Marinette tries to say that no, it's not like that, but Cat Noir is insistent. This is it for Marinette. She has had enough. She goes off saying how sick she is of other people telling her who she is supposed to be in love with and who she can and can't love, and it's so frustrating. It is the largest display of emotion that we've seen from Marinette, I think, just about ever, but it's pretty deserved. She has been having to deal with way too much from so many characters all season long about her love life, and it's really none of their business. The girl just wants to be happy, and just to be able to love who she wants to love. So this moment was very clearly needed for Marinette, but Hawkmoth decides to be a pain in the ass and akumatizes her right there. She's almost about to give into it when Cat Noir tells her to kiss him, and it completely snaps her out of it. Afterwards, though, this does seem to kind of snap some sense into her, and she's like, oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. So, because Ladybug wasn't around, the Akuma gets away and ends up akumatizing Andre because he is upset about the whole Cat Noir and Marinette thing. And I'm just like, dude, again, you have no right. You have no right to be this upset about a teenager's love life. Not at all. But also, again, new villain design, please. Same rant, but the collector stands here. And also, we do get to see that he has one of the little charms that Ladybug gives out to people after they've been akumatized. So, like, why does she still give them out? Because clearly it doesn't work, because he gets akumatized once again. He is given the Tiger Miraculous's power of elation. Cat Noir and Marinette see this happen, and he hides her away, and she's able to call Alia, and she says that she's sorry and that Alia was right, but she needs Tiki and tells Tiki where she is. Glaciator has decided to go after Marinette, all because she loves a different boy than he thinks she should, because again, he thinks he has the right to do this, and he doesn't. He ends up getting Cat Noir down for a moment, and then Alia shows up, no miraculous, and she is just being a complete badass here. It's amazing. She yells at him, telling him that he has no right to tell Marinette who she can and can't love, exactly what everyone else has been thinking. And it's so satisfying that someone actually said it to him. Ladybug then shows up and Alia is able to get away. In the middle of the whole battle, Ladybug and Cat Noir are able to have like a little quick heart-to-heart where Cat Noir tells Ladybug that he'll always love her, but now it's just as a friend. The fight goes on and they win as usual, and Andre says that the only important thing is that the two of them are happy, which it's a little too late for that, buddy. And she still gives him another charm when clearly the first one didn't work. So I'm so confused on this whole like little charm thing that Ladybug keeps doing. However, we do get a brief scene at the end of the episode where Gabriel is monologuing to himself about the fact that now he knows that Cat Noir cares about Ladybug, which was the thing that they were worried about happening. Once they're on her balcony, he ends up telling her that he's worried that he's taking advantage of the fact that she's a fan and that he can't tell her who he is. Marinette says that she understands what he's trying to do and say, and the two hug before saying goodbye. After he leaves, we see Marinette just break down, asking Tiki if she ever thinks a boy will actually love her. And my heart just broke for her. She is just a teenager who's going to make mistakes, but all she wants to do is to have someone love her, and nothing seems to be working right for her, which is just so sad to see. Adrian's in a similar position when he gets home, upset that he can't love Marinette as Cat Noir, and that she's no longer in love with Adrian. Plague, however, reminds him that what once loved can love again, and this makes Adrian optimistic that he can get Marinette to love him as Adrian once again. I think this is a really solid episode. These characters have been so stagnant in their relationships throughout the entirety of the show, so it was nice to finally see some real development with the two of them moving forward that has like slowly been building up since the beginning of the season. As disappointing as the conclusion to this episode might be, it does make sense logically. As much as the fanfics would like me to believe that a relationship between Marinette and Cat Noir would have worked, the way they set it up in the show was doomed to fail. So Marinette, from Cat Noir's perspective, is just a fan that he's interacted with a couple of times. He has no idea that Marinette is like one of his best friends, that she is Ladybug, so he thinks that this love for him is coming from a fan's perspective, not from an actual, like, I know you perspective. So it is very understandable that he feels like he's taking advantage of her in this situation, especially because he can't tell her who he is. So in the same sense, Marinette can't be like, no, I really do know you, because that would reveal her identity to him as well, which we know cannot happen. So if this were to have happened and to have lasted for longer than an episode, there would have needed to be a better friendship built up between Cat Noir and Marinette. There would have needed to have been a strong foundation there before jumping into the whole in love situation. So Cat Noir would have actually believed that Marinette really did love him and actually knew him. He probably still would have felt guilty about the fact that he could have never told her his identity, but there would have at least been a strong enough friendship there that he would have believed that she actually is truly in love with him. Is this how it works in every fanfiction I've read? Yeah, but there's a reason it works in that. This sort of relationship also brings up what is currently an issue for the two of them now, which is Monarch knowing that Cat Noir cares about Marinette. In another world, maybe their relationship would have worked and he never would have found out, but there was always the chance that he would, and that would just be a problem, and he'd be able to use that information to his advantage. It wasn't as much of an issue when it was Ladybug and Cat Noir, or Cat Noir going after Ladybug, because he was already going after the two of them anyway, so there wasn't any new information there to be gained. Now there's a chance that he might get to Marinette before she can transform, which would be detrimental to both of the heroes. It really sucks, but logically this relationship was doomed to fail with the way it was set up in the show. Overall, though, I still think the episode is really solid. It explores a plot point that a lot of fans would have been very curious about, and explains why, in the way that they set up the characters in the show, that relationship wouldn't work. I think that this is definitely one of the stronger episodes this season, and I'm hoping that this sort of thing will continue throughout the rest of the season and the rest of the show, because apparently there's more seasons after this. I don't know what they're gonna do, but there's more. So there you have it, the first 9 episodes of season 5 of Miraculous. I think that this is off to a much stronger start than a lot of the previous seasons have been. And there's like a very interesting new dynamic between the heroes and villains, dramatically shifting the way that the battles are fought, which is something that I think was desperately needed. The show's formula had run very stale, and it was really in need of something to like spice it up, and they delivered. Monarch having control of all of the different Miraculous is just such an interesting concept, and the way it's playing out is also very interesting, and I really like the way it's working for the plot. They also decided to completely flip the character dynamics on their head and really change up how they interact with one another, which was also desperately needed. There had been zero progression with Marinette and Adrian in 4 seasons of the show. So at least changing up their dynamic here provided for some new and varied content, and I love that. For now, there hasn't been too much that has happened, but there's more progression than we've ever seen, and we're only a third of the way through the season. There's still a lot more time for things to change, so I'm curious to see how that goes. Look, I don't want to get my hopes up too high for the season because I've done it before and I've been let down so many times. However, this is the strongest start to a season that I've seen in a long time, and I'm really looking forward to the upcoming episodes. So, I haven't been this deep in my Miraculous phase since middle school when the show first started coming out, but I'm a sophomore in college now, and I've literally been watching the show from the beginning, so I'm very curious to see where the rest of the season goes. Alright, that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This took a lot of time and effort for me to do, and I did have a lot of fun with it, but it does take a lot out of me. So if you enjoyed it, please like this video, comment what your favorite episode from season 5 so far is. I'd love to know. And definitely subscribe if you want more Miraculous content, because I'm still in that phase, so I want to talk about it more. I also do have a video coming soon about how I would rewrite the show. It's already written, I just need to film, so if you guys are looking forward to that, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. Again, I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.